Hi everyone, Wasim Parkar over here, and I'm ready to talk about the French Open women's semifinals, which are about to get underway later today in about 8 hours' time or so. Folks, it's been a thrilling tournament on the women's side. Lots of upsets all over the tournament, especially in the top half of the draw. When you think about it, right on day one, Angelique Kerber, the first seed, lost 6-2, 6-2 to Ekaterina Makarova, and that just set in motion a chain of events whereby we saw seeds falling by the wayside. Agi Radwanska, Venus Williams, Svetlana Kuznetsova, Sam Stosur, Caroline Wozniacki are all gone from the tournament. And as a result, we have the unexpected semifinal of Yelena Ostapenko versus Timea Bacsinszky. I'm sure not many would have predicted that semifinal at the beginning of the tournament. How did they get here? Well, Yelena Ostapenko, the 19-year-old Latvian, has been playing some really fearless tennis. She's beaten some big names. She beat Olympic gold medalist Monica Puig in the second round very convincingly, 6-3, 6-2. She had 31 winners in that match. Then in the fourth round, she came through a tough three-set battle against former French Open finalist, the Australian Sam Stosur, hit 46 winners in that match. And then in the quarterfinals, again, another three-setter where she beat Caroline Wozniacki 4-6, 6-2, 6-2, and she hit another 38 winners in that match. So she's clearly someone who's very confident. She loves to go for her shots. She swings from the hips and she finds the lines quite regularly. Of course, with that sort of fearless tennis, she does have a fair share of unforced errors as well. But that match against Wozniacki, truth be told, almost every game that the Danes served in, Ostapenko was able to get break points, and it was a bit of a minor miracle that she didn't finish the match off in straight sets, because the sets that she did win, she won 6-2, 6-2. So it's very exciting to see young talent like this making it to a semifinal. Sort of reminds me of 2014 when Eugenie Bouchard announced herself with her fearless hitting when she made the semifinals in both Australia and Paris, and then followed it up with a runners-up performance in Wimbledon. Now the hope is that Ostapenko can sort of sustain this kind of form over time and become consistent at the top, rather than this being a big hitting flash in the pan. Now, Timea Bacsinszky, though it may be surprising, it's probably not such a shock that she's here. After all, she did make the semifinals 2 years ago, and even last year she made it as far as the quarterfinals. She does have clay court pedigree. She's very comfortable playing at Roland Garros, and if you look at the complete package, I think amongst all the women except maybe Simona Halep, she's probably played the best tennis at Roland Garros so far. She's beaten everyone convincingly. In the quarterfinals, she took out home favorite Kristina Mladenovic 6-4, 6-4. Before that quarterfinal, every set that she'd won, her opponents hadn't even won more than two games. Of course, there was a round of 16 game against Venus Williams, where Venus won the first set 7-5, but even over there, Timea was up 5-2. Kudos to her. It didn't rattle her losing that set despite having that advantage, because she finished the match 6-2, 6-1. And I think the veteran, if you can say that, relative veteran, she is only 27 now. That hate to go on a tangent over here, but one remarkable coincidence about this semifinal is that both Ostapenko and Bacsinszky have their birthday on the day of the semifinal, the day they face each other. Ostapenko will be turning 20 and Bacsinszky will be turning 28. I do think Bacsinszky has a little bit more wherewithal, a little bit more savvy on her to counter Ostapenko's big hitting. If she can extend the rallies, which I think she can, there's every chance that she can draw some errors from a young, inexperienced opponent. But it's a catch-22. On the one hand, you'd like to think greater experience will win. On the other hand, the fearlessness of youth may mean that you just go swinging, and sometimes when you go swinging, you win big matches. So it's really too close to call. It's going to be really interesting. I think Bacsinszky will have to serve well, which she has been doing in both her round of 16 match against Venus Williams and her quarterfinal against Kristina Mladenovic. She was serving at 71%, and she'll need that against Ostapenko, because if the rallies get long, I do think Ostapenko will have the edge on power. Another weapon that Bacsinszky has is that her backhand is very solid, so she can create some angles over there that might get Ostapenko on the run in a manner that some of Ostapenko's previous opponents were not able to get to. For Ostapenko, I think she shouldn't overthink things. I hope the nerves don't get the better of her on the occasion. And if she just hits through, we might see a very entertaining first semifinal. I hope it turns out to be a cracker. Now, the second semifinal has a diametrically opposite feel to it, because it's two top seeds, the second seed and the third seed, going up against each other. Yes, so despite all these upsets, somehow we have a semifinal where the second seed is taking on the third seed, and that's Karolina Pliskova against Simona Halep. I'll talk about Pliskova first. In all honesty, I didn't think Pliskova had a natural game that suited the clay. In fact, before this year, she'd only ever won 2 matches at Roland Garros. So kudos to her for making it to the semifinal. What Pliskova has, of course, is a great first serve, probably second only to Serena Williams in the women's game. And if you have a clutch first serve, no matter the surface, you definitely can win games and win clutch games. If you look at her performances throughout the tournament, none of them have been superiorly dominant as such, but they have been consistent, and she's managed to win the crucial points. Take, for example, her quarterfinal, her win against French home favorite Caroline Garcia. The score was 7-6, 6-4, quite tight. In the first set, the two exchanged some breaks, but Pliskova came through with her clutch play in the tiebreak. And then in the second set, it was just a matter of one break to win the match. And again, Pliskova just stayed calm and composed and didn't let too much ruffle her. So that will obviously leave her in good stead against in the semifinals against Halep. Now, Halep, many people have her as a favorite. Of course, there's no Serena Williams, there's no Maria Sharapova in this tournament. So many thought Halep, naturally finishing runner-up at this tournament 2 years ago, would have the best game to win on clay. And to be fair, for the first 5 rounds, she looked unstoppable. She beat Carlos Suarez Navarro, the veteran, 6-1, 6-1. She beat the 23rd seed Derek Kasatkina 6-0, 7-5. But in her semifinal against Elina Svitolina, she really struggled. In the first set, she was down 5-0. She brought it back to 5-3, lost it 6-3. And in the second set, she was facing defeat 5-1 down. Now, the one thing that's been said about Halep throughout her career is that she throws in the towel, gives up too easily. But for once, she hung in there. She was resilient. And even though Svitolina was hitting bigger than Halep, Halep defended, tracked down balls, and somehow pulled a rabbit out of the hat, fought back to take the second set in a tiebreak. And then, as Svitolina completely lost it mentally, she served up a bagel in the third set. I feel in many ways that coming through such a struggle could be a defining moment for Halep's career, and she probably needed that going into the semifinals and possibly a final as well, because she's not always coped well with the burden of being a favorite. Now that she's come back from the brink, I think she's going to have that extra momentum. And in fairness, she is the better clay court player than Pliskova. She moves better on the red surface than Pliskova. So I'll give her the slight edge, although you can't rule out the ice cool Pliskova just because she's got such a big serve. And if she manages to hold her games easily, she may be able to transfer that pressure on to Halep. So as I'm losing my coherence, I think it's a good time to say goodbye. I hope we have 2 fantastic women's semifinals, and I'll be sure to talk about them after the fact. This is Wasim Parkar signing out.